This is a model of a Gambrel roof with very similar to what you're doing actually. And what you need to do is find out the location of these beams here. Now I didn't see the structural drawings, right? But these beams are going to determine the span. Once you get the span of the 712, which is the higher one, you subtract the ridge thickness, divide it in half, and that'll give you the run from the outside of the beam to the inside of the ridge, and you'll multiply it by the secant or the line length ratio of the common rafter, and you're probably using a construction master, so that probably is pretty easy for you. And you'll notice that you're going to get this kind of a configuration. Now, not necessarily, this beam could raise up and be beveled at a 712, right? And then you just die into the side of it like a ridge, kind of like this here, right? And then, but wherever the location of this beam is, the post is going to determine the run of the 2412 pitch common rafter. So that'll be, you know, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, right? 24 squared plus 12 squared equals, punch the square root of, and that'll give you the hypotenuse divided by 12 gives you the line length ratio or secant. You multiply it by this run, will give you this rafter length from the outside of the wall to the inside. So from same side to same side, you know, 2412 pitch there. And then this is the same way the valley stacks, just like that right here. Zeroes out just like all these zero out, unless you raise this up, in which case actually you wouldn't raise it, you'd just bevel it. You'd raise it and bevel it. So it'd have a bevel on it that goes all the way up, and then these would die into it, this would die into this side, this would die into it, and this would die into the back side if you turn the corner. In this case, it's running on through. And so when you go to frame your walls, your gable walls or your gambrel walls laid down flat, you're gonna have to snap this out on the deck. You might end up only having the ridge height. You have to figure out where this break point is, because that's gonna give you the location of these two beams. Now remember, as a roof cutter or somebody who's framing this roof, all you need to know is the pitches, which you have, 2412, 712, and the runs, which will be determined by the spans. And the runs are from inside of ridge, in this case to the back side of the beam, but if you raised it to the inside of the beam, and from the outside of the building to the side of the post there. That's about it. Determine where these beams are located. If you're only given the ridge height, we've got to figure out where these beams are located, and you might have to ask. But if you look at the floor plan, you'll probably see corresponding walls. And those walls, maybe even just a couple sections of walls, will give you dimensions from either from the center line or the width of the room, you know, subtracted from the entire span, which will definitely be called out, will give you the two sides divided in half, will give you the locations of these walls. Even if you have one, same thing is going to happen on the opposite side in terms of beam location. So figure that out if there's any corresponding walls. And then I noticed you have a couple, 3, 4 different ridge heights, and then you have dormers, which are just an extension of this. These run on out. And then, you know, plumb up. That's probably not all of it. I'll look some more.